But some more good news, or is it? Is it? A school in Britain claims it has found the secret to ending bullying in the playground. But is Australia ready for it? Or is this one more sign of a war on boys, on toxic masculinity? This school, Hackney New School, says the trick is to ban football or soccer at playtime. As the BBC notes, rather than kicking a football around or jumping skippy rope in the playground unsupervised, how about pupils practice sonnets by classic poets like Shelley and Tennyson, or maybe quiz each other on capital cities? Well, joining me is child psychologist Clare Rowe. Clare, you must be so excited as a child psychologist. You've got the school's head, a woman, saying, this has virtually eliminated bullying at school. So is this something, because who doesn't want less bullying, is this something you'd like to see in Australia?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if if it came to Australia, Andrew. I mean, it's one of those stories you read
don't do that.
You kind of, you kind of do a second guess and you go, did that actually happen? And then you kind of look at the experimental nature, which I think the education department, plays with our kids with learning, and you think, gosh, that actually could happen. And what's concerning is how proud this principal is. And look, I have no doubt that they probably have reduced bullying. They have reduced bullying because the kids are under their noses the whole time. They're watching them, and bullying's, they're cowards and it's very covert, and they do it while teachers aren't watching. So sure, they've reduced bullying. But, in reducing bullying, I think what's scary as a child psychologist is they've actually taken away a complete critical developmental almost stage for children, which is what happens in the playground. And sending kids out to the playground is not just giving them a break, right? There's conflict management and resolution skills and social skills and creativity and leadership, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with kids when they are left to their own devices to self-entertain. And telling kids you can't have that and we're going to now do that for you is really damaging. And I think, to be honest, Andrew, just the lazy option. I mean, I don't know whether this school had a bullying problem before. I mean, a lot of schools do. Were they just not dealing with it properly? That was all too hard. So instead, we'll just take away playtime. I think it's atrocious.
Now, Clare, look, I'm all in favour of more poetry, right? Down caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea, and, all that kind of stuff. I love all that. But is it fair on some boys who don't have a taste for Yeats or Shelley or Milton or Tennyson? Is it really fair to say, look, boys, this football has got to go?
Well, no, it's not. And I think, don't they have to do that in English class anyway? I mean, that's when they have to do it. That's when it's forced upon them, whether you like it or not. And you can't make intrinsically someone love even learning. Some kids just don't. Whether that's English poetry or not, some kids just don't like school, and that's okay. And they, what they say to me when I say what's good about school, they say lunchtime. I mean, there are 10-year-old boys I see every day who say the best part about school is lunchtime, because I get to kick my footy around and I get to let off a bit of steam and I let to, just kind of move around and get all that out of me before I can come back and do some more schoolwork. So, there could be other effects of taking that off them as well and having them all cooped up. And I kind of thought this school's in the UK. These kids have just come out from months and months of lockdown, and now we're telling them.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. You're so right. How unfair.
You can't play the footy either now. You're back at school. Keep locked up. You've got to sit and study Yeats. I mean, it also punishes the good kids, but essentially at the end of the day, if we have a bullying problem, I'd like to see bullies, when they are proper bullies, and I don't want to mistake normal child conflict for bullying, but when it is systemic, targeted, unrelentless bullying, there should be an absolute no tolerance action towards that bully.
Clare, we're totally at one, but you know what I think's really happened, but trying to teach all these hostile, resentful boys, the poet Tennyson, you really got a teacher in front of them. And no wonder there's no bullying. If the teacher was in front of them when they were kicking a football, I think you'd have the same result. Now, I'm just wondering whether the real text here is that we are getting too afraid of or too hostile to the natural physicality of many boys.
Well, possibly. I mean, that's part of it. But we've seen other things kind of banned, which is girls doing cartwheels because they might fall over and hurt themselves or scratch themselves.
Oh,
and,
for goodness sake.
No tips and no handball and no, for all those safety kind of concerns, we can't have kids kind of doing that. I mean, but yes, there is some. There is. I would agree that boys in their physicality are punished a little bit more in this than girls are, because girls typically in this school, I think, was kind of from 11 years up. I think typically girls are sitting around eating their lunch and kind of having a chat at lunchtime, and the boys are letting off the steam, and they need to do that, and they need to be allowed to do that. But, as you said, instead of having another English class with a teacher in front of them, they could go play chess. Apparently, that's up for option. But I don't see much of them taking that up either.
Not unless they're forced to. I mean, this is the whole thing. It's the force. It's the natural constraint of these poor kids. We're talking playtime here. Yes, as you say, make them do this stuff in class. But playtime is, if there's a clue in the word, playtime. Clare Rowe, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.